Okay, today I'm going to teach you how to plot a graph from and create some data. And
Plot a graph. Okay, so this one, okay, for example, I want to track a number of customers uh, that comes to my company, that comes to me in a year. So, and the target number of customers against the target number of customers I set for myself. So in, for example, this one I can put, let's say, in 2012, 2013, and 2014 in these 3 years. So the target number of customers I set for myself is 30, 35, and 50 over these 3 years. And the actual number of customers I get in these 3 years is 33, 37, and 55, for example. So the next thing, how to plot a graph. We highlight all the cells that contain the data. This is very important. So we click on the first cell and then hold it and drag across until it reaches the last cell. So, and then I press insert, and then I will choose the kind of graph that I want. I could choose a column graph, I can choose a line graph. These are line graphs type. You can choose a pie graph or a scatter graph, right? Personally, I prefer the scatter graph. So for this purpose, so I just click on it and it comes to here. Let's say if I want to change this scatter graph to the line graph, I can easily do so by changing, and it will change. So, and one thing to note, let's say if I want to change any of these values, for example from 37 to 35, if I change it, the graph will change automatically. And if I change this target to 52, so will the graph change. And you see the change there. And at 58, so will the graph change. So let's say I change the target to 38, no, 34, 30, that's 30. And we see two lines. Now I can change the color of this line by clicking on it, and then I go to format. Okay, before you click on the graph, you don't see the chart tools over here. You can't see it. Once you click on the graph, you see that the chart tools appear, and there are 3 sections that you can use to change the graph. You can play around with the functions and you will know them better. You just experiment. So now we go to format. Format is for changing the colors, things like the colors, right, of the line. So if I want to change the color of this line from blue to green, for example, I just click shape fill, I change to green. So do I change the shape on outline also to green, and the line becomes green. Same thing I can do for this graph. I can change it to blue as I want it, and I change it to blue. And now I have this. So you see that the green line represents the number of customers. I didn't type it here. It came from here. So if I want to change the name here, I just remove that. For example, I remove the S, you see that the S is disappeared. For same thing, if I want to remove the S here, I remove the S. I can change it to anything. The label for the line, I can change it to anything that I want. I must change it here. I can't change it here, right? I can't change it here. So what do I do? Right, if I want to further, if I want to label the axis, so I could go to layout. So under the layout toolbar set, you can see that, okay, I can label the data. So for example, if I want the data label to be above, then you see, right, that the data appear here. But I can also do this separately for the 2 lines. For example, I want the data for this line to appear on top. I click above, and I want the data for this blue line to appear below. So I click below. So then we have other options like center as well. Say center, you just need to play around to know it for yourself. So I'm not show you here. So another thing is often we use is the axis label. This one, for to change this, we can click on this. Let's say for example 0 to 70. I can change it to percentage. I can change it to time, right, depending on what it is. So in this case, it's just a number for me. So I change it to number, or I can change it general. So how about axis options? These axis options, when I click on it, I can let the minimum, although the data displayed up to 70, I can change it. Okay, and it started with 0. I can change the data to start from 20, for example. And then you see now we started with 20. I go back, I change it, I can change the maximum to 100. I can do it, I do not need to do it one by one. I can change it at one go, 30, right? And then because the interval is 10, you see that no, the interval is 1 over here, major unit, and what does it mean? So for example here, the major unit is 5, so you see that all the numbers differ by 5. If I change it to 10 and I click, right, now it's 10. How about major unit? This one I can leave it, doesn't matter. You can play with it and see what happens. So for example, let's say if I change it to 12, what happens? No, doesn't change anything for my graph. So let's just go and then I change. Okay, so you know how to play around. We play around, we see what is the result. That's the best way to learn. Now I don't want it to be 30 because it doesn't show it, so I go make it back to 10. Right, and that's it. Now same thing I can do for here. From 2012, let's say if I want to change, I can change the axis options as well. Like change the line color, change everything. Okay, doesn't matter. So I close it. I don't need it right now. So I can go to layout again. The layout, I can change the chart. I can insert a chart title. So I can insert a chart title as above the chart. So it will appear here. So the chart title is, oops. And if you do anything wrong, you can always, oops, you cannot go back. Well, okay, you can go back. So let's say if layout, you go to chart title and then improve above chart title, alright? And this one you can insert the graph to say number of customers, right? And this you can also move it around if you want, but default it is at the center, right? For the default it's at the center. So I can also change the axis titles. For example, the horizontal axis, I want this, that means the x-axis over here, horizontal axis. If I want the title to give it a title and display it below the axis, I can select this, right? And then under the axis title, I can write that this represents the year. And for this axis title, I come again, the vertical axis title, I can choose to write it horizontally, or I can choose the axis title to be vertical, right? Up to me, but I prefer it to be horizontal. And so I would type in this one is the y-axis represents the number of customers, so I will type it here, right? So then I get a graph. I can change some of these elements anytime I want. Let's say if I change this to just target, I don't want, and this start to actual. So you see that the line label has changed over here from actual and target, right? It has changed over here. So of course I can add more data. Let's say if I add data here, 32015 and 56 and 4, for example, and I need to go back and do the graph again if I add more titles. So in the beginning, if you foresee that you need to add a lot of data, you could extend the box further and then you put insert graph, same thing, and then you see more, and then you can add data as and when, like 45, 2016 is a better. So then you will be able to do this. If we shift it out a bit, then you see that it's separated. So that's all for today. If you have any questions, feel free to call me or email me at info@hour.com, or you can WhatsApp me. Oh, I better leave my number secret, right? You can SMS my line ID, Sichong123. If you don't get me here, maybe it is, I think it is correct, Sichong123, Sichong1234, either one of them, either this or this. Okay, no, better though, right? That's it.